try to keep it short and simple, but still try to get you not too much into the weeds, but explain you what smart cities are all about and what are some of the challenges that they are facing in terms of getting off the ground as opposed to all the buzzword that we hear about them. So some of the things that that I'm going to talk about today is what are smart cities, what are the key components, what are the assets and services that are part of a smart city, what are the enablers, including Internet of Things, big data, cloud computing, and the roadmap in terms of what are the challenges and what are some of the recommendations of possible solutions that can take place. So what is a smart city? So smart city is basically a city which is investing in human and social capital as well as traditional and modern infrastructure to manage resources in a sustainable way. That's what would define a smart city. Now, when I talk about traditional infrastructure, I'm talking about things like transportation, water management, gas, utility, etc. And when I talk about modern infrastructure, I'm talking about all the internet-connected technologies. So these are all your traditional. If you remove the smart word from these words, from energy, mobility, water, public services, buildings, those are your that's traditional infrastructure. And when you add a layer of smartness, which is through internet connected technologies, that's what you get, a smart city. Now, why smart cities are so important? Smart cities are important because as human evolution, as we grow as humans, we tend to realize that there are better and effective and efficient ways of doing things, and some of the numbers that we can, some of the savings or investments that can be made to drive economic growth are mind-boggling if you think about the promise of smart cities. So be it like managing water, you can save like $14 billion just by taking care of leaks and thefts which are happening. Or be it in terms of transportation, where every year all of us are spending it on an average 50 hours in traffic jams, which is a great loss of human productivity. So keeping all this in mind, we need to understand, we come to the conclusion that yes, smart cities are important. That's why there has been so much emphasis on building this infrastructure. And to build this infrastructure, we have three key things, which is big data, Internet of Things, or Internet of Everything as people are calling it these days, and cloud, which I guess Yuri just discussed an hour back. So let's try to understand what a smart city looks like. So smart city can be basically represented by these four layers. The first is the sensing layer, the second is the interconnecting layer, third is the data layer, and fourth is the service layer. So let's break it down a little. Think of it as your Alexa in your in your house. So in Alexa, the sensing layer is basically the microphone that you're using it to voice your commands. The interconnecting layer is, of course, the internet that exists in your broadband, regular broadband internet. The data layer is basically the AWS through which Alexa is connecting to the Amazon servers. And the service is basically whatever you are asking Alexa to do. It might be ordering an Uber app, or it might just be listening to your favorite Taylor Swift song. Now scale it up on a grander level and think of it not just your personal room, but to a city where you are managing not just services such as listening to songs, but managing traffic lights, water supply, gas utilities, etc. So that's what a smart city would look like. In terms of what each layer is doing, I mean, we did discuss that, in terms of what they do, but let's see how they get actually, implemented. The sensing layer is basically all the sensors which are being used, the RFIDs, the wireless networks, the wireless sensors, the GPS, the cameras, all of these are part of the sensing layer. The interconnecting layer is basically the one which is handling all the information exchange that's happening between the sensing layer and the data layer. The data layer is then again is all about storing all the information, retrieving it, and at times coming up with insights to actually drive information to drive actions. And the services are basically based on the information that you have requested or received, how the services are getting actuated. So the big challenge that exists with smart cities is that you would think that if I can have an Alexa in my room, why can't I have it for all across the city and have the same level of seamless connectivity that you find in your own room. The big challenge is, of course, interoperability, data privacy, security, and data heterogeneity. Now, interoperability is the biggest one, because what happens when people talk about smart cities is every company wants to build their own services, network of services. Now, think about it if you're a city planner. If you're a city planner, you would want your city management system to be flexible. By flexible, I mean, let's say a new service comes on, you should have the capability to put that service on your city's management side. But you can't do that because that service is coming through a different vendor or different operator, which is using its own cloud and its own suite of services. So that right now what happens is that flexibility is not available, and because of which there's a big lack of commitment from city planners to actually go into these multi-year contracts with a single vendor and commit to something in developing these cities. The next is, of course, data privacy and security, which Yuki did touch upon. There's a human layer to smart cities, right? Like all these services are basically trying to help us as citizens of a particular city do more, make our lives more efficient. And the same challenges that Yuki mentioned exist within the city, this landscape as well. People are reluctant to share their personal data, and that sort of like hampers the growth and the development of all the suits and the AIs that is needed to like actuate things to happen in a smart city. Thirdly, of course, is the data heterogeneity. By data heterogeneity, what I mean is the different sources of data which are there, which are non-uniform, non-standardized, and do not look like each other. Just think of it. The type of data that the pedometer in your iPhones is creating is very different from the data that the traffic light on the intersection is developing is sending out. So there's no uniform standard that can help bring all this data together and actually come up with meaningful insights to help you plan your day better and be more efficient. So all these issues sort of have hampered the growth of smart cities. There have been successes in bits and pieces where a particular part of smart city or a particular infrastructure has become smart, but to say that an entire city has become smart with all the services that traditional services that we talk about, that has failed to take off. Now, in terms of what can be done, there are steps being taken, but there are still challenges in those steps that are being taken as well. So, open platform APIs and standard data models would be what are needed. Now, what happens is that even within this whole gamut of this idea of everybody understanding that we need open systems, not everybody is on board with it. So, for example, there are two alliances which have been formed in the past 5 years. One is called AllSense, the other is called AllSeen. Now, it's just that there are two different camps who have different visions for the future, and each of them has like really big players, such as Microsoft is on the AllSense, and I think Qualcomm and Intel are on the AllSeen. So each one is trying to develop their own vision of future, and therefore it becomes very tumultuous for any manufacturer to come up with these smart sensor devices that can work seamlessly across all platforms. Even in Europe, they tried to come up with something like 5Air, but again, it's limited to Europe, and none of the big US companies is supporting that. So hopefully, in the near future, we can expect that there would be more sensibility and more agreement would be reached on what the standards would be, and rather than trying to upend the market and trying to dominate it, there would be more collaboration that can get us to the future of smart cities that we all have been hearing about. With that, I open the platform for any questions.